The dog in the rain. Michael Carter knew something was wrong the second he walked in the door. Not the usual kind of wrong. Not the burnt dinner, forgot the trash again kind. This was heavier, quiet in a way that felt staged, like a house pretending it hadn't just heard a scream. Rachel wasn't in the living room. The TV was on, tuned to the news, muted. Dinner sat untouched on the counter, overcooked pasta and a half-hearted salad. Steam had long since given up trying to escape the pot. He set his keys down without a word, kicked off his boots, and listened. Shower running upstairs. Michael's jaw tightened. Something cold settled behind his ribs. He moved through the kitchen like a man walking into a crime scene. That was how it felt, like the air knew, even if she thought she was hiding it. On the edge of the counter, her phone buzzed. Lit up, buzzed again. He told himself not to look. He looked anyway. 3 messages, all from the same number. Not saved, but familiar. Still thinking about last night? Tell me you haven't changed your mind. I don't care if he finds out. Say the word. Michael didn't touch the screen. Didn't need to. The name might as well have been carved into the glass. He stared at those words until they blurred, then turned, walked out the front door without grabbing a coat. It was raining. Not hard, but steady. The kind of rain that soaked through slowly, like it had all night to get inside you. Michael stood on the porch, one hand gripping the railing, the other clenched in his pocket. He didn't light a cigarette. He quit 2 years ago. Didn't scream. Didn't cry. Just stared at the empty street, counting the seconds between breaths. Then he saw it. A dog. White, filthy, small, not quite a mutt, not quite anything. It sat at the edge of the driveway, unmoving, watching. Michael narrowed his eyes. Where the hell did you come from? The dog didn't move. Just stared at him through the rain, ears down, tail still. He took a step off the porch. The dog didn't flinch. You lost? He asked. Nothing. Not a bark, not a twitch. Just those wet eyes, fixed on him like it knew him. Michael rubbed his face. The night was unraveling fast. Hell, maybe I'm the one who's lost. The rain picked up. He turned back toward the house, paused, then glanced over his shoulder. The dog hadn't moved. He sighed. Come on, then. It stood, slow and deliberate, and padded after him without hesitation. Inside, the house was too warm, too clean. Rachel must have lit a candle, something vanilla, something expensive. It hit him wrong. He towed off his wet socks and dropped them by the door. The dog stood in the entryway, dripping a little puddle onto the hardwood. Rachel's voice floated down the stairs. Is that you? Michael didn't answer. She came down in a robe, towel in her hair. You didn't say you were home. Her voice caught when she saw the dog. What the hell's that? Michael shrugged. Stray. You brought it in? He nodded. Yeah, she stared. You okay? He looked at her then. Really looked. Wet hair, damp robe. The barest hint of guilt tucked behind her eyes like a shadow she forgot to hide. No, he said. But we're going to talk anyway. Her face paled. Michael, not here, he said, voice like a tire iron dragged across concrete. Sit down, she did, slowly, wordlessly. The dog walked past them both, calm as you please, and lay by the fireplace. It curled up, wet and silent, like it had always belonged there. Michael didn't look at it. His eyes were on her, and for the first time in a long time, she didn't know what he was going to say next. Rachel sat at the edge of the couch like a kid waiting for punishment, hands balled in the hem of her robe. Her eyes flicked once toward the dog, then back to Michael. It hadn't moved since curling up, still soaked, still silent. Michael stayed standing. I saw the messages, he said. Her lips parted, but no words came out. I didn't go looking for him. Phone buzzed. That's all it took. Rachel swallowed. Her hands twisted tighter. Michael stared at her like he was memorizing the moment. Maybe he was. I knew something was off, he said, quieter now. You've been sleeping on the edge of the bed. You stopped talking unless I asked. You flinched when I touched you. She flinched now. I thought maybe I'd done something, he added almost to himself. Maybe I got too tired, too boring. I work too damn much. Maybe that's it. Michael, his voice snapped back, sharp. Don't try to fix the part where you didn't even hide it. Rachel looked away. Her cheeks were blotchy. I didn't mean for it to happen. That line ever work on anybody? Silence. Michael sat down across from her, not close. Elbows on his knees, hands clasped, like a man praying, or ready to break something. You sleeping with him? He asked flatly. Her lips trembled, but she nodded. Still, another pause. No, his jaw tightened. When did it start? Rachel's voice was barely a whisper. 6 months ago. Michael gave a single sharp laugh that had no humor in it. Half a year. I didn't mean for it to go on. He looked at her, really looked at her. You loved him? She shook her head. It wasn't like that. What was it like? Rachel's voice came out raw. It was stupid. I felt invisible. You were always gone or tired. I needed God. I don't know. I needed someone to look at me like I mattered. I do look at you like you matter, he said, calm and deadly. She broke then, head in her hands, sobbing. Michael watched it all like a man watching a flood. There was no use fighting it. Just take it in. Let it hit. The dog shifted slightly by the fire. Michael didn't look. Rachel lifted her head, smeared mascara running down her face. "You're going to leave me, aren't you?" Michael didn't answer right away. "Part of me wants to," he said. "Part of me wants to burn this whole goddamn house down with you in it." Her breath caught. "But I don't even know if I'm angry enough for that. I'm just tired." She looked up at him. "Then what happens now?" Michael stood. The chair creaked behind him. "I don't know," he said. "I need air." She nodded, dazed. "Okay, yeah, just don't drive angry." He grabbed his coat, looked over at the dog. It raised its head. He pointed. "Stay." The dog stood. Michael frowned. "No, stay." It stepped forward anyway, water still dripping from its fur. Passed right by Rachel without looking at her. Sat beside the door. Rachel stared at it like it had grown horns. Why is it looking at me like that?" Michael didn't answer. He opened the door. The dog padded out ahead of him into the rain. He didn't remember getting in the truck. Didn't remember buckling his seatbelt or starting the engine. The wipers struggled against the downpour, and the headlights made rivers out of the street. The dog was in the passenger seat. Michael glanced over. "I told you to stay." The dog didn't blink, just stared at the windshield like it had some place to be. Michael drove. Not toward anywhere in particular. Just out. Away. The streets gave way to back roads, then wooded curves. He didn't care. The further he got from the house, the better he could breathe. "You ever been cheated on?" he asked, voice low. The dog didn't respond. "I mean, probably not, right? You're a damn dog." Still nothing. Michael snorted. "Christ, I'm losing it." The road bent through a dense patch of trees. Rain hammered the hood like fingers drumming a warning. Lightning flashed once bright, blinding. Then everything went white. Michael slammed on the brakes. The truck jerked to a stop. His heart pounded. The road was gone. He blinked. He wasn't on asphalt anymore. He was parked on a gravel overlook that hadn't existed 2 seconds ago. The dog was gone. Only fog ahead. Only silence. Michael opened the door slowly. Stepped out. The air felt wrong. Heavier. Too still. He turned toward the fog and saw himself. His first vision. Michael stood in the fog and watched himself cross the porch, soaked in sweat and rain, jaw clenched so tight it looked like his teeth would crack. His double didn't knock. He didn't pause. Just threw open the front door like it belonged to him or like someone inside had stolen it. Rachel was in the kitchen, humming. She froze. "Michael?" she said, voice light at first, expecting maybe a dropped wallet and early lunch break. "What are you?" He didn't speak, didn't blink. He walked past her without looking, straight to the coat closet, reached past jackets and scarves, and pulled out the old aluminum bat they used to keep for storms and raccoons. Rachel's tone shifted. "Michael, no, wait." He turned to face her. His voice came out low, shredded. "Is he here?" She didn't speak. Her eyes gave her away. A flicker, a tremble, a glance just for a second toward the stairs. Then they heard the steps, deliberate, measured, a creaking descent. The man came down with a smirk that didn't quite reach his eyes. Mid-30s, smug, too clean. He adjusted his shirt as he stepped off the final stair. "Michael, right?" he said. "Look, this isn't what you think." Michael's double didn't reply. He stepped forward and swung. The first strike missed the man and slammed into the banister. Splinters exploded, raining down the stairs. The second didn't miss. It connected with the man's ribs. The crack was sharp. Final. The man dropped instantly, screaming through his teeth as he hit the floor. Rachel screamed too louder. "Michael, stop, stop!" Michael didn't even look at her. He raised the bat again. The man rolled, gasping, trying to crawl toward the door. "Jesus Christ. My ribs." The third swing hit his shoulder, with a sound like a watermelon cracking. His arm bent wrong. He shrieked. Rachel ran to her husband, grabbed the bat. "Please, you'll kill him. Please stop." Michael shoved her hard. She stumbled and hit the wall with a grunt, sliding down to the floor. Michael's double turned back toward the bleeding man. There was no hesitation. He stepped forward and raised the bat one final time. No more chances. He brought it down. Skull. One strike. The sound was wet, muted, a dull crunch that silenced everything in the room. The man's legs twitched, then stopped. Rachel screamed again, a raw, broken wail of disbelief. Michael dropped the bat. His hands were soaked in blood. His chest heaved. He looked down at the corpse, at the puddle spreading beneath it, and then looked at his wife. She wasn't pleading anymore. She was on the floor, frozen, one hand over her mouth, the other shaking uncontrollably. Outside, dogs barked. A neighbor shouted. Sirens echoed in the distance, getting closer. Michael walked to the front door, opened it. Rain fell in soft waves, misting the doorway. He stepped outside and let the storm wash over him. For a moment, he looked up into it, like waiting for lightning to strike and finish what he started. When the cruisers pulled up, lights flashing, Michael raised his hands. He's inside, he said. She's alive. He's not. The booking photo made the news that night. The mugshot went viral. A man drenched in blood, eyes hollow, jaw set like stone. News headlines told their own version. Local man snaps in murderous rage. Love triangle ends in bloodshed. Old photos surfaced him and Rachel, smiling with their 2 kids at a county fair. Her social media account was flooded with sympathy posts, hashtags, debates over blame. Rachel filed a restraining order from her hospital bed. The divorce moved fast. The man's family pressed charges. Michael pled down to manslaughter. 15 years? He served 9. In prison, he kept to himself. Didn't speak unless spoken to. Didn't fight. Didn't cry. He was the man who'd snapped. The one who brought a bat to a love story and wrote his ending in blood. Nobody visited. His son changed his last name. His daughter sent 2 letters. Then stopped responding. When he got out, Michael lived in a halfway house. Got a job unloading trucks at a warehouse 2 counties over. Walked there, walked back. Never spoke more than he had to. One night, he rented a room at a cheap motel, a place where the neon buzzed and the water ran rust-colored. That night, he sat on the edge of the bed, eating cold noodles from a takeout box, and stared out the window. The rain had come again, and outside half in shadow, barely lit by the buzzing sign, stood the dog. Same one, white fur, motionless, watching. Michael put the box down, walked to the window, stared. The dog didn't move, didn't blink. Michael opened the curtain wider and said to no one, "I don't regret it." Silence. "But I lost everything." The dog didn't answer. Didn't need to. Its eyes said what the world never had to. That was your choice. The price of rage still echoing in his bones. It had been almost a year since Michael got out. The halfway house was behind him. He had his own apartment now, a shoebox really, with peeling linoleum and a sink that gurgled. But it was clean. His. He kept the bed made. Took walks every day. Drank his coffee black. Spoke to no one. Except the parole officer. And except for that one call. It took everything in him to dial it. Rachel answered. Voice flat. Older. "Hello? It's me," Michael said. Silence. I wanted to see them." "They don't want to see you." Another pause. "You're their father," she added. "But you're also the man who put blood on their floor." "I didn't hurt them," he said quietly. "Yeah, no, but you broke the version of the world they believed in." She hung up. 2 weeks later, he drove to the edge of their town. Didn't tell anyone. Parked near the school. He saw them, his kids. His daughter, 16 now, walked out with headphones in and her hoodie up, eyes darting around like she didn't trust anything to stay the same. His son, a freshman, smaller than Michael remembered. He walked beside her, stiff and quiet, his backpack slung low, his face pale. They didn't smile. Didn't talk. Didn't look up at the world. Michael stayed in the car. A few minutes later, a battered SUV pulled up. Rachel was driving. She looked like someone who hadn't slept right in years. Hair pulled back. Face thinner. She didn't wear makeup anymore. Her eyes scanned the parking lot like a soldier. She didn't see him. Michael's hand tightened on the steering wheel. He thought it would feel good righteous to know she'd suffered too. That her affair hadn't bought her happiness. But looking at them, his kids, her hollow face, the tension in their every movement, he realized the truth. He didn't punish her. He punished all of them. And the worst part? She was right. They didn't want to see him. Because every time they did, they saw it. The blood, the bat, the man their father used to be. Michael started the engine. He didn't drive home. He just drove. The dog appeared on the roadside again, watching as the car passed, those same eyes, waiting at the crossroads. Vision 2, Michael found himself back in the living room. Same house, same quiet hum of the refrigerator, same hardwood floors that once echoed with laughter. But now, it was dead quiet. This version of him stood near the fireplace, watching Rachel sit on the couch, shoulders shaking, hands covering her face. "I slept with him," she choked out. "It's over, I swear, but it happened." Michael, the version in the scene, didn't yell, didn't accuse. He didn't even blink. He nodded slowly. "I understand," he said. "We can move past it." Rachel's breath hitched. You forgive me?" "I forgive you," he said, but there was no conviction. Only the cold script of a man who didn't know what else to say. She sobbed harder, grateful and broken. Michael stood there, stone-faced, hollow, and reached out to touch her shoulder. She leaned in. He held her, but his eyes never closed. Days passed. The house looked the same. The motions resumed. Dinner at 6, laundry folded on Sundays. Laughter on TV they didn't watch. But the connection was gone. Invisible walls had gone up, and no one acknowledged them. Rachel would try. She'd touch his arm while passing behind him in the kitchen, ask about his day, try to start a conversation in bed. Michael always answered with the bare minimum. Fine. It was okay. He was tired. He didn't look her in the eye. He didn't ask about her feelings. He didn't demand answers. and she took that as mercy. Weeks turned to months. They slept in the same bed, but on opposite ends, backs turned, limbs curled inward like islands floating apart. Sometimes Rachel cried softly at night. Michael never asked why. He already knew. There was no second affair. Rachel didn't cheat again. There was no scandal, no yelling match, no divorce lawyer. She just faded. Bit by bit, one morning Michael came home early from work to find her suitcase by the door. She didn't run. She wasn't even crying. She just looked tired. "I can't breathe here anymore," she said. He said nothing. She left a note on the counter, though she didn't need to. He stood in the kitchen for an hour after she left. Didn't move, didn't scream, didn't cry. He opened a beer instead. Years bled together. Michael didn't chase her, didn't date, didn't fix anything. He just endured a slow-motion disappearance. His once strong frame softened. His hands, once calloused, now shook. The fridge had beer and lunch meat, and not much else. His work uniform was always clean, but wrinkled. He stopped making the bed. He stopped shaving. He stopped looking in the mirror. By the 5th year, no one visited. The kids called on holidays. Mostly voicemails. Sometimes text messages he left unread. His daughter offered once to come by with her boyfriend. Michael told her he had plans. He didn't. He just didn't want to see pity on her face. One winter, the heat went out. He didn't call anyone to fix it. Just wrapped himself in 3 old blankets and sat in the recliner, watching a nature documentary on mute, while the condensation frosted over the inside of the windows. He drank whiskey to keep warm. The lights flickered. He stared at his hands, palms up, the skin cracked, the knuckles bloated. He didn't recognize them anymore. Then came the day the power was shut off entirely. He didn't pay the bill, didn't notice the mail, or ignored it. He sat there in the cold and dark, wrapped in silence. And then the dog appeared. Same one, same white fur, same old eyes that looked too still, too knowing. It didn't bark. It didn't need to. It just sat across the room, in the corner near the shadows. Michael looked at it through watery eyes. "I should have said something," he whispered. His voice was thin, worn. Even a scream would have meant I cared. The dog didn't move. Michael leaned back in his chair, closed his eyes. The silence folded in on itself like a curtain, and he faded quietly like a man who had already died 1,000 small deaths. The real Michael, still walking, still alive, stumbled backward from the vision. His breath was ragged, his hands clenched. That had been worse than the first, worse than the murder, worse than the blood, because in that world he didn't explode. He didn't scream. He didn't fight. He simply disappeared while alive. "Dying slowly's worse than breaking everything," he muttered. The dog beside him looked up once more, then turned silently toward the next shimmer in the fog. Michael followed. Vision 3. This time the house was spotless. Fresh paint, cream, and light gray tones. Matching curtains, counters cleared, floor gleaming. The kind of home that looked perfect in pictures but felt too quiet in person. Michael stood in the doorway, watching his double at the dinner table. This version of him was different. Still recognizable but sharpened. Trimmed beard, fitted polo shirt, posture rigid but refined. He didn't speak with volume. He didn't need to. Control rolled off him in waves. Rachel sat across from him, poised. Hair curled just right. Nails done. Soft makeup. But her smile didn't reach her eyes. "I appreciate you checking in when you ran 10 minutes late," Michael's double said, his tone gentle, even friendly. "It means a lot to me," and Rachel smiled. Forced. Of course. He reached across the table and rested his hand over hers. "Trust is like a broken bone," he said softly. "That needs time, needs structure," she nodded. Her fingers remained still beneath his. After dinner, the double loaded the dishwasher. Rachel went upstairs. Alone, he pulled out his phone, opened an app. Video feeds appeared, kitchen, living room, porch, bedroom. Tiny red dots marked motion. He rewound the grocery trip footage. Watched her linger in the car before coming inside. 32 seconds. Paused. Replayed. Zoomed. Made a note. Weeks passed. Rachel's world shrank. No more girls' nights. No more sister visits. She texted less. Posted nothing. She asked once timidly if she could fly to Phoenix for her niece's graduation. Michael smiled, kissed her temple. "Still too early, but soon, I promise," she nodded. Her eyes said otherwise. New rules came. A shared calendar with mandatory check-ins. Location sharing. Screen time reports. Rachel handed over her passwords without complaint. Her voice was always pleasant, polite, practiced. Michael monitored everything. Not with anger, never that. Only with purpose. One night she came home 5 minutes late from the store. He served her dinner. Sat down, folded his napkin neatly. "There wasn't traffic," he said casually. "I checked." Rachel froze. "I pulled over," she said softly. "To cry." Michael smiled faintly. "You know crying alone creates more space between us." Her eyes shimmered. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Good," he replied. "Let's not create space, then." He kissed her knuckles. Time continued. But Rachel did not. She moved like a woman in a play hitting marks, saying lines, never looking up. She smiled when he brought her flowers. She posed for photos. She wore the dresses he liked. But the light behind her eyes dimmed. Her friends stopped calling. She didn't reach out. Her sister left voicemails that went unanswered. The house became quiet in a different way. Sanitized. Soulless. On their anniversary, Michael booked a weekend at a coastal spa resort. Rachel smiled through it. She wore red, the color he liked. Sat close. Let him take her hand in photos. Laughed at the right moments. He posted the pictures that night. 5 years. Broken, rebuilt, better. Love is a choice. Rachel looked radiant. But in every image, her eyes were pointed just slightly away from the lens. Then one morning she was gone. No note, no suitcase. Just an open window in the laundry room and the faint smell of rain. Her toothbrush was still in the bathroom. Her phone on the charger. Michael searched the house, called the police, filed a report. Told neighbors she had wandered off again, still healing. But he knew better. She hadn't wandered. She'd escaped. Weeks passed, then months. Michael left the house untouched. The table stayed set for 2. He watered her plants, changed her toothbrush every 2 weeks, kept her slippers by the bed. He reviewed footage every night. Scroll, rewind, pause, trying to find it the exact moment she stopped loving him, the frame where her eyes changed. The second she gave up, he couldn't find it. That only made it worse. One night he sat at the kitchen table alone, a glass of wine in front of him, her chair pushed in neatly, her perfume bottle still half full on the counter. He looked up, spoke to no one. She was broken, he whispered. No, I was fixing her. A year passed. Michael's double kept the house pristine. Not a pillow out of place. Not a dish left in the sink. He worked. Slept. Reviewed footage. Rituals of someone who still believed order could replace love. But Rachel didn't return. Not a call. Not a sighting. Not even an update from the detective he hired, who eventually stopped replying to emails. Michael told himself she was just lost. Healing. Finding herself. But something in him knew better. 2 years in, a small envelope arrived. No return address. Inside was a photo. Rachel. Somewhere warm. Desert light. A coffee shop. She looked free. Hair short. Freckles showing. A man across from her, reaching for her hand. The photo was grainy. Taken at distance. Probably without her knowing. Michael stared at it for hours. Then burned it in the kitchen sink. 3 years in, news came by accident. A former neighbor called. Oh, I saw Rachel the other day. Well, saw her obituary. Breast cancer, poor thing. She didn't even tell anyone she was sick. Michael read the obituary online. It was short. Her name, her sister's name, the town she'd moved to. No mention of a husband. No mention of him. No mention of kids. Just, she found peace after a long private struggle. Michael drove 8 hours the next day. Stood by her grave. Small, unadorned. One bouquet wilted in the grass. He didn't bring flowers. He didn't speak. Just stood in the rain until his shirt clung to his back and his boots sunk into the mud. That night, he returned to the house. Stood at the table set for 2. Pulled her chair out. Sat in it. And cried loud, broken, gasping sobs. Not for the woman he controlled, but for the one he never really saw. Outside, the dog sat at the edge of the yard, eyes glowing faint in the dark, watching, waiting. The last thing Michael said before the vision faded was barely a whisper. She was never broken. Vision 4. Michael stood in the living room again. Same discovery. Same cold betrayal. Same searing punch to the chest. But this time, he didn't yell. Didn't swing. He just looked at Rachel. Really looked. Her excuses stalled on her lips. I can't fix what you broke, he said. But I can fix what I allow. She flinched. Michael, please, let's talk. No, we're past talk. 2 weeks later, the divorce papers hit the table. She didn't expect that. She expected groveling, begging, the good man holding it together. Not this new calm version of him, quiet, unreadable, done. The separation was messy. She tried to claw back control cried in court, played the kids, made noise. But it didn't work. Michael didn't smear her. He didn't even mention the affair. He let her drown in her own lies while keeping his eyes forward. 6 months later, Michael was in better shape than he'd been in a decade. Cut some weight. Clean shave. Bought new clothes. Fixed the truck. Got a new job managing a project out of state. That's where he met Alyssa. Late 20s. Gorgeous in a sun-kissed, unattainable kind of way, eyes like honey, legs for days, and a smile that could talk a man into forgetting how to breathe. But it wasn't just the looks. It was her energy. Playful, confident, unapologetically drawn to him. They met on site. She was a landscape architect. Funny, sharp, kind. No games. She told him he was sexy the second week they talked. Not handsome sexy. Michael nearly choked on his coffee. They started slow, then not slow at all. The first kiss left him dizzy. Her body fit his like a promise he didn't know he'd made. She looked at him like he was something rare wanted, not out of duty or guilt, but hunger. Nights turned into weekends, weekends into something steady. They went out dancing, took road trips, got caught in a thunderstorm once, and ended up making love in the backseat of his truck like teenagers. Alyssa told him she didn't care about his past, that he was real, steady, strong. She said it while tracing the scar on his arm from a work accident. Said it like it was something beautiful. Michael hadn't laughed like that in years. The first time the kids met Alyssa, they stared like someone dropped a movie star in their living room. But she wasn't fake. She laughed at their jokes, brought snacks, showed up to the soccer game wearing their team colors. Rachel saw photos online. Alyssa in sunglasses and a sundress, arms draped over Michael's shoulders. Michael smiling, actually smiling. Rachel called once. "So you're dating her?" Michael's voice was calm. "Did you need something about the kids?" Rachel went quiet. "I made a mistake." "I know," she sighed. "You look good." "I feel good." Alyssa moved in that fall. Helped redecorate, painted the bedroom a rich, deep gray, and made it feel like home. She brought joy back to the house. She got along with the kids, asked about their friends, remembered their teachers' names. They told Michael, "She listens, like really listens," unlike Mom, who was sad all the time. Michael watched his daughter ask Alyssa for makeup tips one night. His son asked her to help with a school project. That never happened with Rachel. And Alyssa? She looked at him across the dinner table like he was hers. All of him. They had loud sex, laughed after, made pancakes in their underwear. She called him cowboy when he fixed the fence, teased him about his music, said he made her feel safe. He never knew love could be this easy, this alive. Meanwhile, Rachel's life unraveled. The man she cheated with dumped her 4 months post-divorce, told her she was too much drama. Her job cut her during downsizing. Friends took sides and most quietly sided with Michael. She tried to reconnect with the kids. They were polite, distant, guarded. They visited but didn't stay long. Texted her late, canceled plans, called Alyssa cool. Rachel cried in her car more often than not. At their son's graduation, Michael walked in with Alyssa on his arm. Red dress, killer heels, show-stopping. Rachel froze. She was wearing something she thought was nice. It looked average next to Alyssa. Alyssa greeted her kindly, took pictures with the kids, smiled for the camera. Didn't gloat, didn't need to. Michael's hand on her back said it all. That night, Rachel sat alone on her couch, wine glass untouched, scrolling. Photo after photo. Her family, his new life. Her thumb hovered over a message box, then lowered. She didn't send anything. She cried instead. Michael didn't flinch. He almost smiled. The vision didn't end when Rachel cried on her couch. Michael thought it would. Thought that was the last note. But the fog didn't clear. Instead, it pulled him forward, showed him what came next. A few years passed. Michael and Alyssa bought land, built a small modern farmhouse outside of town. 2 more kids came, both girls, bright and stubborn like their mother. The house was always alive, music in the kitchen, chalk drawings on the driveway, Nerf darts stuck in the ceiling. Alyssa danced barefoot with the baby on her hip and winked when Michael caught her in the act. It was a real life. Not a perfect one, but a good one. His older kids visited sometimes. Less than he wanted, more than he feared. They liked Alyssa. They loved their sisters, but they never smiled the same way they used to. Something remained broken in them, something they didn't talk about. But that sat behind their eyes like fog on glass. Their trust and love had been cracked early. Watching their family collapse had left wounds that never quite closed. One afternoon, his daughter showed up unannounced, pale, quiet. She handed Michael a folded newspaper clipping. Rachel, found in her apartment. Overdose. No foul play. No note except one line, scribbled on the back of an old envelope. "I'm sorry, I broke all of us." His daughter sobbed into his chest. His son didn't speak at all. The funeral was small. Closed casket. His kids cried. Michael did too quietly beside Alyssa, who held his hand and said nothing. She knew better than to offer comfort for a wound that deep. Because it wasn't grief for a wife. It was grief for a chapter that never healed. For a scar that never softened. For the fact that some choices don't kill you immediately. They just kill the future that could have been. Afterward, his son stopped speaking to him for a while. Blamed everyone. His daughter stopped dating. Started therapy. Then stopped again. Every time Michael reached for them, it was like reaching through glass. They were there but not reachable. And he had to accept that. Because some damage becomes a foundation. It doesn't go away. It becomes part of how a person walks. Back at home, Alyssa watched him from the porch one evening. He stood alone, looking out at the long shadows on the grass. "She won't be the last ghost you carry," Alyssa said softly, arms crossed. Michael nodded. "I know, she broke them. I let her," he said. Alyssa walked over, slid her arms around him from behind. And yet somehow, she whispered, you still became a man worth loving. Michael closed his eyes, held on to that, and when he looked out into the dark again, the dog was gone. Michael jolted awake, back in the truck. Engine off. Rain gone. Fog hugging the earth like breath on a mirror. The sky glowed that soft, impossible gray, the kind of light that doesn't come from sun or moon. They were still on that overlook that didn't exist, and the dog was staring at him, but not like before. Its eyes weren't just old now, they were infinite. Not beast, not spirit, something deeper, like truth wearing a shape. Michael sat up slowly, rubbed his face with both hands. His voice cracked as he whispered, "What the hell are you?" The dog tilted its head, and then he heard it. Not in the air, not with ears. Inside, "I am the one who comes when the choice matters." Michael's breath caught. "You talk now? You can finally listen." The voice wasn't booming. It wasn't mystical. It was quiet, certain, like gravity or guilt. Michael stared out the windshield. "I saw what I could become, a killer, a coward, a tyrant, a ghost." The dog blinked. "Once? Yes." "Or a new father, a new husband, at the cost of her life." Choices have consequences. Michael clenched the steering wheel. Even the best one, the one where he moved on and forgave her, he hurt. Every damn day. The pain never left. Truth does not soften pain. It makes it clean. Michael turned sharply. "I have the one where I walk away." The dog nodded. It was almost cute. She falls. You rise. You find love and fulfillment. But you wonder, forever, what kind of man you could have been if you hadn't chosen the easy path. Michael exhaled like the wind had been knocked out of him. He looked at the dog. "Is that what I want? Easy? No, what you want is to cause pain, which is very real, very human, but is also the worst case for everyone." Michael's brow furrowed. "What about Alyssa? Is she real?" Silence. Then, "She is very real. She is waiting. She is kind, loving, beautiful. You are not wrong about her." Michael's voice dropped to a whisper. "Is there a way I could have her without destroying Rachel?" The pause that followed was long. Too long. I don't know. Michael looked down. The words were a knife-quiet final. "She is your reward in other lives. In the lives where you walk away, where you choose healing over yourself. In those stories, she finds you, loves you, gives you daughters with fire in their eyes and music in their bones." He swallowed hard. "And if I stay with Rachel, Alyssa will be fine. She will still find joy, a different man, a different family. She will still laugh like Summer and call someone else cowboy. She doesn't need you to be happy. That is what makes her special." Michael closed his eyes. It hurt more than anything else had. And then he asked, the words sticking in his throat, "What about the girls?" The two little girls from the other vision. One with tangled curls. One who couldn't stop asking questions. His daughters with Alyssa. He saw them playing in the yard, running barefoot on warm grass. He could still hear their laughter. The dog blinked slowly. And then it smiled. Not a baring of teeth, not an animal reaction. A smile. Human. Soft. Almost sad. They will find another family. Another name. Another story. The world wants them in it. They will be fine. Michael didn't speak. Couldn't. He stared ahead. The road shimmered beyond the fog. One way to Alyssa. Another back home. "You choose now," the dog said. "I do not return." "Why me?" "Because you are worth more than what they took from you. And because you are strong enough to give, even when it still hurts." "You choose now," the dog said. "I do not return." "Why me?" "Because you are worth more than what they took from you," it said. "And because you are strong enough to give, even when it still hurts." I hesitated. "I'm scared. Isn't forgiveness just weakness? An open door to more pain?" And the dog tilted its head, eyes ageless. "No," came the voice not heard but known. "Forgiveness is not weakness. It is strength wrapped in sorrow. It is justice tempered by mercy. It is the hardest form of love." Then the dog stood, jumped down from the seat, walked out the door, though it never opened, and disappeared into the fog. Michael sat in the truck for a long time, not crying, not praying, just still, remembering the faces. The killer, the coward, the tyrant, the ghost, the man who stayed, the man who ran, The man who broke and somehow loved again. He thought of Rachel, shattered, crying, gone alone in a bathroom with a bottle of pills and the weight of too much silence. And for the first time, he didn't ask why. Only what now? Michael made his choice. He turned the key, drove down the mountain, not chasing a future, not running from the past, just choosing. It was close to midnight when he pulled into the driveway. The house looked smaller somehow, weathered, familiar. Only the kitchen light was on. Inside, Rachel sat at the table, eyes hollow, hands shaking. Same tea, cold again. She looked up. I thought you were gone for good. Michael shut the door behind him. His steps were slow, deliberate. I talked to the dog. She blinked. What? He shrugged. I think it was God, or judgment, or something older. Her voice cracked. Did it say to leave me? Michael shook his head. No, it said I had to choose. That forgiveness was the last act of strength. She wiped her face with trembling hands. What did you choose? He didn't answer. He walked across the room, sat down across from her, and reached for her hand. It trembled when it met his. But she didn't pull away. The dog was gone. But Michael didn't need to see him anymore. He already knew who he was, and now he'd finally chosen who he'd be.